Hello and welcome to Yapping.
Yay, yapping. Today we are going to rank the Scarlet and Violet VGC regulations.
Yeah, because Scarlet and Violet's coming to an end. Champions is coming out soon. Hopefully I have this video out before it releases. But yeah, very exciting. We figured, why don't we look back at the regulations of Scarlet and Violet and try and figure out what makes a good format.
Yeah, and that's gonna be interesting because I know just anecdotally that Abby and I have had very different opinions on
A lot of disagreements.
Especially because I think we value different things. So I'm looking forward to that sort of discussion. So shall we start with Regulation A, right?
All the way back. Let's go back 2023, baby.
So there were a grand total of 2 majors in Regulation A.
So basically, Regulation A is very hard to talk about just because of how, truncated it was.
Yeah.
Very short, not a lot of time for meta development, only 2 tournaments.
Yeah, that's one in the Americas and one in Europe. First of all, which mods were included? It was just the Scarlet
base
Violet
game Scarlet
base
Violet.
decks.
No Paradox, no Treasures of Ruin.
No Paradox, no Treasures of Ruin, and obviously no bikes. Imagine if the bikes had been allowed in Reg A.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Let's not imagine if the bikes had been allowed in Reg A.
I liked Reg A.
I did too. The big thing that comes to mind from prep with it is that Dondozo was the strongest thing ever.
Dondozo was very difficult at first, especially with very new, idea of this big boss raid Pokemon. So everyone was trying to figure out, how do I counter this? Pretty much everyone had, Haze or, a Meowscarada, sometimes both. I know that in our team that we brought, we had both. It was not a very good team. It was Vaporeon, but it was fun.
Yeah, Vaporeon was... It hazed, and then it didn't do anything while Dondozo ordered up.
It won me a game. It won me a game. It probably wouldn't have been able to do that in later formats, so I guess for the Vaporeon fans out there, that's a point in Reg A's favor.
Yeah, but the...
And did you know Vaporeon is a Pokemon?
This woman. But, what ended up happening was in the first regional, San Diego, Dondozo placed second. It had, it had 2 top 8 finishes, and there's a few more sprinkled throughout the top 16. But, it ended up getting second. And the finals there are it's still to this day one of my favorite stream matches, where we had, Jisuk Lee, I'm sorry about probably butchering that name, versus Chepacross the 4th, and Jisuk had a sort of almost like a novel way of taking down Dondozo, where he didn't go for Haze, he didn't go for Clear Smog, he just had Meowscarada to force it to Terra, and then Baxcalibur to hit it after it terastallized, and it proved very effective.
I forgot that team had Tauros on it.
Yeah, it had a Tauros. A common trend that's something very cool about the first few formats is, actually quite a few formats, is I love Incineroar, but I'll be the first to admit that
No Incineroar, let's go!
Yeah, the teams are a little more interesting when you have to, actually decide which Intimidator to use, and Tauros Palea Aqua being the Intimidator on the team that won San Diego was certainly interesting. And
we've already got Goldengo, Scarlet and Violet staple right there.
Yeah, Goldengo was...
We had also Garganacl with the Salt Cure Recover stuff, leftovers.
Yeah, his Garganacl, the Garganacl was on the winning team, and I remember I read his team report. He based his team off of a Sword and Shield team that he'd really liked, where he's like, okay, Meowscarada crits, Urshifu on that team crits, so he sort of figured out how each Pokemon lined up. And then he had Garganacl, and he talked about in his team report, he had Terra Poison Garganacl, which is a good defensive type, but the reason for Terra Poison was that he didn't have the time to get Terra Shards of a different type, because when the base game came out, there was no Shard Charm, you couldn't get shards from the item printer, so you just had to grind through the game and then do 3 to 5 star raids until you had enough shards for every single Pokemon, and that took forever. ever.
But I guess it's not really more of a point on the meta game as it is. I mean, I guess, but it did influence a winning team at the end of the day.
I know that, like, whether or not you could obtain a Goldengo in time was, like, an actual concern for competitors, because the game had been out for 2 months.
Collect all 999 coins!
Yeah, exactly. In retrospect, Goldengo, King Gambit, and Dondozo are, like, by far the most broken pieces available, but, and Amoonguss. Amoonguss is always broken. It's just how it goes. But, like, at the time, it was kind of just assumed that Dondozo was incredible, and it was, because very limited counterplay. But my main mark against this format was just how oppressive Dondozo felt. Though this also, I think, was a bit of a... This was a bit of a skill issue in the sense that there were, like, ways to figure it out, but, like, for the community at large, and one gripe I had was because the format was so short, I am sure that if we'd had, like, 2 more months of it, people would have figured out Dondozo a lot better. But because we didn't, and we just had one format in Europe, and one major in Europe and one in America, like, Dondozo felt really oppressive, and we couldn't take those lessons from the first Reg A major and use them at another, though they certainly stayed relevant in Reg B.
Yeah, Murkrow, that was the, like, format of everyone was surprised because Murkrow was running around. They're really, like, people had to get a lot more creative because of just how little options. Like, if you wanted priority Tailwind, it was either that or Talonflame.
Yeah, and Murkrow got Haze, and Talonflame didn't, and that was very important for Dondozo. It's actually the out of the 2 Reg A majors, the first one, Dondozo got second and was defeated in finals, and the second one in Europe was actually won by Dondozo plus Murkrow to handle opposing Dondozos. That had a Palmot with Revival Blessing, which let you play a little riskier with your Tatsugiri early, and I thought that was pretty cool.
But at the end of the day, we didn't really get to see that format develop as much as it could have, and I wonder if it would have still been, like, would it have been a good format if it kept going?
I think so, just because it kind of would be like Reg B, and Reg B was a great format, but with a slightly reduced power level. The question is, would people figure out how to handle Dondozo reasonably? I think the answer is yes. But just knowing how to handle Dondozo now, which generally doesn't even require Haze. But it only lasting so long was a mark against it.
So how do we rank it?
I'm willing to call it solidly A or B, and then we can sort of, like, revisit it.
I think it has to be B. I can't give it A just because, like, there's just a lot of questions.
Sure, sounds good.
There's a lot of question marks.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess
anything else?
Actually seeing a format develop is real nice.
Anything else we want to say about Reg A?
Just that, no, I think let's move on to Reg B.
Reg B!
So Reg B was like Reg A, but it introduced all the Paradox Pokemon. So, let's just get one big thing out of the way. Fluttermane is probably the best Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. If you want to argue against that, you're going to be arguing that it's the second or third best, right? It's that good. It's not outside the top 3. And was this true back then? Obviously. Did we sort of intuitively know that Fluttermane was busted? Absolutely. But, like, I don't think, like, the community overall had realized, like, in this sort of power level, we should have Fluttermane on 95% of teams at that point, which, in retrospect, might have been the optimal way to play the game.
A lot of Fluttermane. I actually did not. This was the only format in Scarlet Violet I did not go to a regional for. So I kind of didn't take it as seriously or develop. I remember I had this Abomasnow Iron Bundle team that I liked. Never got to bring it to a regional, but, like, used it in a few online tournaments.
Yeah. During this time, people did take the Dondozo lessons, and especially early Reg B. Wait, this thing's broken, and and just took that to the early tournaments of Reg B and absolutely dominated with it. It looks like at the first regional, the Orlando of 23 in Reg B, we had 1, 2, 3. We had 4 Dondozos in the top 8, and in ninth place was also Dondozo. I definitely think that the tone for this and even for Reg C was really set at Orlando, specifically with the winning team. Wolf Glick won. He tends
Who's
to do
that?
But he was running a very interesting core 4 of Palafin, Arcanine, Kanto, obviously, because Hisui wasn't in the game, Fluttermane, and Amoonguss.
It kind of became known as Palance.
Yeah, those 4 became known as the Palance.
Or
squad.
another word, or another acronym that I don't know if I really want to say.
Yeah, let's not say that one. But yeah, those last 2 slots, we'll talk about it more as the formats go on. But they ended up being very flexible.
Kind of the defining like core bound, but it wasn't like you only ever saw that like with some like, because once you get to later regs like D, you start seeing just like, oh, every team's just like Urshifu Rillaboom.
Well,
Palance did not like dominate. It did well, but it wasn't like you were only running into Palance. There was a lot of room. I remember there was like sand teams running around. Like I said earlier, there were even some like snow. People were playing around with new snow mechanics in Iron Bundle. Yeah. I don't think that ever really saw too much success.
I remember Nick Navarre 8-0'd that might have been Reg C. I think that was I think that was Portland 23. That might have been Reg C. I remember he 8-0'd a regional day 1 with like Specs Bundle and Abomasnow.
Also, size spam kind of starting to take off here.
Yeah.
Even more so than it did in A.
Yes, something important to note here is that at the time there was only Armarouge was the only Pokemon to learn Expanding Force.
Yeah.
It was an exclusive move. Later on, the number of Pokemon exploded when it was introduced as a TM in I think it was the Teal Mask, but it might have been the it might have been the Indigo Disc, but for now it's just Armarouge.
We also had kind of rain starting to pop up with Palafin and Pelipper.
Oh, we had an international here.
Yeah, Oceania, back when we still had Oceania internationals.
Yeah, and I thought it was really funny, because we're both from like the Los Angeles area, that this tournament in Australia, the finalists were both Los Angeles locals. We had Gavin Michaels versus Alberto Lara. And Gavin, shocker, was running Rain with Double Dragons. And he still had half of that Palance core. He had he had Palafin Amoonguss, and then
yeah, and with like Iron Hands fake out stuff.
Mm-hmm. But
so that kind of fills the role of like what an Incineroar would have been.
Yeah, no Intimidate, but
no Intimidate.
Yeah, one thing to talk about with Palafin is you'll notice his usage right now is 0, and the primary reason for that is that Urshifu does everything it does better. Urshifu has Unseen Fist and doesn't need to be swapped out, but
it has a second type.
And has a secondary type that's very useful.
Yeah.
Something that Palafin had going for it though was Haze, which with Dondozo's dominance was a really good reason to run Palafin. It's like, you can run something else, but when your main sweeper also like one of the strongest mons in the format also has Haze, you kind of want to run Palafin. But which contributed to its just absolute dominance. But something else to consider with Palafin was, since the power level was so much lower, we didn't have legendaries. It was like the cost of swapping out was a lot lower. The opponent couldn't get as much done because like, you know, they didn't have an Urshifu attacking in the rain.
That allowed for some interesting strategies to pop up. Like, also with Perish Song, like Wolf won with Perish Song back to like that from earlier. We mentioned that.
Mm-hmm. And
that wasn't possible in as powerful formats. I mean, I guess he did go on to win some more tournaments in later formats. Perish Song was a lot more like viable just because like a bunch of different strategies opened up.
Yeah.
Like even Garganackle,
mm-hmm.
which is like once once like legendaries hit, that was completely gone, just an option completely out of the picture.
Yeah. I have a few more comments on Reg B, which are, first of all, to Abby's point about Parasong actually proved to be really good in this format, and I just don't think that many people picked up on it. I remember, I'm blanking on his name now. Give me a moment. Zachary Thornburg. Yeah, he was on a Parasong Flutter with a Tatsugiri team, and then he ran like a Psych Up Sylveon in order to copy Dondozo's stats, because you Parasong your Tatsugiri, you combine with Dondozo, Tatsugiri faints, Dondozo keeps the stats, Sylveon psychs up the commander boosts, and you sweep from there. He top 8'd, I think, a few events. He definitely top 8'd Knoxville. Yeah, he definitely top 8'd Knoxville there. And then actually Knoxville, speaking of Knoxville, was also won by Palance Parasong. But this time piloted by Justin Tang, who was his first regional, and he won the whole thing. So good for him.
So anyways, let's take a look at the end of Regulation B, because like I'm looking at the Charlotte standings and a lot of variety in the teams. I know Great Tusk rose in usage and near the end there. This more like offensive play style.
Yeah.
But I'm just seeing so much variety. Dondozo went down a little bit, actually quite a bit, near the end of the format. I think it started off being a little over-centralized, but then kind of as format developed, people realized, oh, there are ways to beat this, and even just without haze.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely declined a bit near the end as people figured it out a little more, which would have happened in Reg A if there was more Reg A to Reg A with. One other thing I want to shout out is the Vancouver Regionals, which were won by Sempra. And this was using a Lily Cold team. I believe that the original version of it was piloted by Nails, by Nick Navarre at Knoxville, and then Sempra reached out to him and adapted it. I remember that from Sempra's team report. And yeah, this team was Lily Cold, which was a little bit under the radar at the time. But yeah, Lily Cold plus a really nasty Assault Vest Terra Fire King Gambit with Terra Blast, as well as a Choice Scarf but booster attack Great Tusk, and a Flutter main that got enabled by Torkoal really well. And I want to call this out because Sembra said something I wholeheartedly agree with, which is he figured out that this Reg B was like ideally played offensively, and that's just because the raw power of these new future paradoxes plus Sun was just absurdly broken. Lily Cole itself was already like a really good core. Yeah, there was a lot of flexibility. There was a lot of flexibility with team building here. Like Palance was a mainstay, Dozo was a mainstay. Lily Cole picked up near the end. Great Tusk really picked up near the end.
Size spam, even Tyranitar like sand stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You could really use a lot of Pokemon and also build them in a lot of different ways. I remember like you used Swords Dance Iron Hands in this reg, right?
Yeah,
I know there was like the Assault Vest set, the Swords Dance set, just a lot of different sets running around. You could really customize the teams.
Yeah, Iron Hands was awesome. Like before Incineroar was on like every team, like it's really tough to emphasize just how good Iron Hands was, and it definitely fell off later and then came back with a vengeance once Miraidon was added to the game. But like Iron Hands, like a fake out mon with just those stats, it didn't have an ability, it didn't need one, it was just that guy.
Was there anything like that felt super overpowering in this format?
No, not really. I do think that the thing is, everything that felt overpowered was because it was something that you hadn't really prepped for because you'd been preparing for other things. And that was kind of a healthy format.
There also felt like multiple like powerful things.
Yeah, I never felt like I can't cover for I can't cover for the things that I'm expecting to face, and this is stressing me out. It's more like, oh, this person ran something that was flying under the radar. And
so overall, was this a good format, you think?
I think it was a great format. I think it was one of the best we've had. I think it was everything Reg A wanted to be but didn't have the time to be.
Yeah.
Or honestly, like I mean, I'll just say this now, my two favorite formats are by far B and C. But
I would agree on C. I'm not sure about B because, like I said, I didn't play that one as much.
fair enough. Why don't you
But
stick it in A tier then?
I'll stick it in A tier. Moving on to C, this is when I really started like diving into VGC. So now I feel like I also remember this one a lot more clearly. And I'm excited to talk about it because it was a good format.
First,
It might be the best format.
yeah, the only difference between Reg B and Reg C
Are 3 Pokemon. And
are 3
Wo-Chien.
Pokemon and Wo-Chien. Yep. Chen Pao, Chi-Yu, and Ting Lu. And how much difference did 3 Pokemon make? A lot.
Yeah, a lot.
They were ubiquitous because they were really, 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 really broken. And there's a reason why we see them, like, all of them are viable even today in Reg F. Not just viable, but thriving. And,
Yeah, let's see. Qian Pao won. Qian Pao, Ting Lu were in the finals of the first
yeah. Oh, yeah,
tournament of the regulation, and kind of just adding on to what we'd already seen in B. It was kind of nice because it was both a new format and an extension of B in a way.
yeah, but it felt fresh. It felt really fresh.
It felt fresh while still having that familiarity, having that good development already, while still also having a lot of room to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, Flutterfish plus Bundle for special attacking offense was very dominant early on. Tons of things are viable. I think Joe Ugarte won a tournament with Sun Portland, with like a jump bluff, which was a novel strategy at the time, and he did, relatively speaking, he did very well with that. The really big one big thing we do need to talk about, the Ting Lu in the room, is people realized very early on, like before the first major, that Ting Lu is so bulky that you could throw it on your team, max out its bulk, and throw Fissure on it, and the power level is still low enough that you could just click Fissure, and you're on average get more than 3 Fissures off.
If there is one gripe with the format, it would be the Fissure Ting Lu stuff.
Yeah, actually, the first, I think that if it was like the first stream match, I think at an official event for Reg, like the first turn of the first stream match or something like that, like it was like a Ting Lu clicked Fissure and knocked something out, and I thought, well, this is gonna be a great format. but you know, it wasn't like just dumb Fissure spam, because okay, it was kind of just dumb Fissure spam, but like it was like it wasn't gambling, yes, but it was almost positive expected value gambling, because like the sheer amount of Fissures you'd get to click would, you know, eventually add up to like an average of more than 1 knockout from your one Pokemon.
And anyway, I actually realize now, looking at stuff, I have another gripe with this format, and that is Flutterfish. It felt pretty annoying to deal with, especially because I do kind of feel this forced a lot more offense to deal with it, because there wasn't as many good like defenses tools to deal with it. Like Ting Lu was there, though sometimes you'd have to tear it just because of the
Moonblast next to Chi-Yu.
It was a little overwhelming for what we had tools for at the time, but I still don't think it ruined the format. Yeah,
and we did have the tools. You just had to be willing to use them. And this format was a very flexible one. I want to talk a bit about EUIC, which happened here. This was won by Paul Chua, and it was run using Palance. He had the core 4 Palance core, and then he threw on Ting Lu and then Roaring Moon. And Palance during Reg C absolutely thrived, but there it shifted away from Perish Song. The last 2 were almost always a dragon, and then whatever glue you thought would beat the meta for your upcoming major. Just because people realized having a dragon is really good into opposing Palance, and
I know Gyarados was also kind of onto team.
Gyarados really started,
especially since there were a lot of good monotype Pokemon, which we don't see as often. Because like when we get more Pokemon, there's more options available, and then you don't want to use the monotype Pokemon.
Yeah. There were a bunch of reasons that Gyarados picked up, but it was kind of a pretty sudden meta shift. Like, people started running a little bit of Gyarados, and then, like, the next tournament, there was, like, more Gyarados than Palafin in that slot. And I was like, what? But no, it made sense.
It did a lot without feeling like necessary. Like sometimes Incineroar feels like necessary. And that's what I do like about having Pokemon that have some tools, but not all the tools. Because that means, oh, you can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to slap this Pokemon on and not have to worry about anything. You still have to, like, make sure to use your Pokemon in tandem with each other. And there's a lot of, like, flexibility, like, oh, this Intimidate Pokemon has this thing I like, but this one has, like, a different typing, and it's not like there's just one objectively best option.
Yeah.
But, like, even still, because in some formats that can get overwhelming of, like, oh, there's so many options, like...
HRF come to mind.
Yeah, H and FF especially comes to mind for me in that regard, but, there's, like, a lot of options, but none of the options feel too overpowering.
Yeah, like...
There's not, like, a... Like, even though Flutterfish was probably one of the strongest things in the format, there wasn't, like, a ton of different, like... There wasn't, like, oh, you have to deal with 5 different Pokemon that can knock out your Pokemon in 5 different ways, and you can only cover for 3 of them.
Yeah. Yep.
The power level was lower. Like, I could have these Pokemon like, oh, this is good at countering this, but still not gonna lose to everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that I think that we should definitely look at is the final tournament of North America, which, I mean, not of Regulation C, which was North American International Championships. And this field looks completely different than before. Palances, where we had the Palance versus Palance mirror in the finals of EUIC, which was early Reg C. Near the end here, we have, let's see, there are only 2 Palafins in top 8, and for comparison, I'm seeing 3 Gyarados, which kind of, reinforces that point of, like, Gyarados taking over a little bit. Flutterfish, which was so dominant throughout, like, it's here, but there's only 2 Flutterfishes in the top 8, right? Like, people sort of figured out a little how to deal with it a little bit better. And something really cool was, this tournament was won by Alex Gomez-Berna, and he won it with Dragapult Qianpao, which was really, really cool because that was, like, not something that was used back then. That was definitely a dark horse pick that won the whole thing.
Actually, I think it was used earlier in the regulation and then kind of came back around.
Yeah, Abby's right.
But even this is still such a different team than the first Qianpao Dragapult team. We've also got that Dondozo Tinglu.
Yes.
Which is
like that stuck around even through Reg F. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a frustrating combo, but also very interesting because it was like it's frustrating, but you can play around it.
Yeah.
I guess one other thing I want to note about Reg C is just look at the variety of teams here we've got at the top. And it looks completely different, like, from when we first started. There was just so much, like, meta development, but it never felt too overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, we've got the, even, like, Dondozo went through, like, Dondozo Tatsugiri went through changes, because we've got the Parasong Dondozo shenanigans.
Oh, yeah, that was a whole thing.
That was a whole thing, but it was just, like, a lot of that creativity was allowed. So many, like, creative teams. We've got Iron Moth in top 8 here. With Acid Spray.
Yeah, looking back on it, Justin Knox had, like, a really impressive Scarlet and Violet. He's the one with the Iron Moth here, and he did quite well in future formats, too.
Sun. We've got just, like...
Yeah.
Oh, the Orthworm.
That was
stuff was fun.
That was awesome. I was on that team for a lot of the formats.
This one isn't the Shedtail one, but
yeah, no, there was a strategy with I think Alex Underhill pioneered it, where or at least that's where I first saw it, and it won a few regionals, though not in the US. But yeah, I remember, Alex Underhill went 8-0 with this team where you'd click Shed Tail with Orthworm, which gives a substitute to Dragonite. And then Dragonite's multi-scale essentially doubles the health of the substitute, because while the substitute's up, multi-scale is going to be up. and that gives you time to get a Dragon Dance off, and then you can start Earthquaking next to your Orthworm. While,
yeah, I've got one of the teams up here. It's just like very like interesting stuff.
Yeah, no, and I think that Orthworm is honestly like a really good face of my argument that this should be ranked in S tier format, where it's like just all this stuff was viable, but there was also like a clearly defined best meta. And so if you wanted to run your own thing or something off meta or something goofy, you really could. And if you wanted to focus on the meta or countering the meta, you also could. You also weren't locked into HO, you weren't locked into balance, and like I'd look through, like, even just looking through these like top 8 results now, it's like these are all great teams. They're all manageable and they have to be played well to succeed. And I think that that's like.
But
really,
I feel
really
like
cool.
I could also build some like goofy stuff that could still do well into the field.
Yeah, it's yeah, no, this was a great format.
Yeah, I agree with S tier. It's not without its flaws, but I think it's the best format we had.
Yeah, and then D hits.
D
D
might be the worst format.
Maybe it was a format. The main issue, the single biggest issue with D, and there were issues with D, was probably its release schedule.
Yeah, it was very weird because they decided, oh, let's make the first tournament of it Worlds. So it's like, for a lot of people, only the Worlds competitors were really...
I remember hearing a lot of complaining about, I worked so hard on my NAIC team so I could tweak it a little and bring it to Worlds, and now D is a completely and now Worlds is a completely different format.
We had a full different format Worlds without any majors going on, so it's like, how does a meta develop like this? There were some like grassroots tournaments, but that still doesn't like reach the same level of meta development as as just having a bunch of different majors.
For sure. And
also just, it was such a different format too, because it was like, most of the Pokemon were different because they were like, Urshifu's here now, Rillaboom's here now, Tornadus is here now.
Landorus is here now. Urshifu is here now, which I know Abby said, but I think it should be said twice because Urshifu.
There are 2 Urshifus.
There are, well, yes, and let's look at the world results here. I have to go down to where's the first? I had to go down to 11th place to find a team without an Urshifu. The top 10 placements all had Urshifu. I think that sums up very well just how dominant Urshifu was.
Yeah, these teams looking like all pretty similar.
But I mean, there's still a lot of variety.
There's enough variety, but also just like, I do want to point out, one of the best things I actually think about Reg D is this Emilio Forbes team.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, but one thing before that is just on the idea of similar teams. The 7 of the top 8 teams at World were featuring Fluttermane Urshifu, by far the best 2 mons in that format, and actually that, yeah.
And a lot of Tornadus Urshifu as well.
Yeah.
This was a very hyper-offensive format.
Yeah, it's, yeah, and adding on to what Abby said about, like, the whiplash of formats, and by the way, neither of us were at Worlds 23.
We did compete in Pittsburgh, was Regulation D afterwards. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, I remember that. But, so a lot of this was just, like, talking from people at locals who were prepping for Worlds, but, like...
Yeah.
Still
but I will say, like, something like this Emilio Forbes Bramblegast was very interesting.
Yeah, we need to talk about Bramblegast.
We do. I say that every day.
So, what was interesting was when figuring out this early meta, which was, mostly through Showdown and Grassroots, as Abby said, there are sort of whispers we're hearing from people like, hey, Bramblegast is low-key really good. There's a ton of wind moves. One of the big shifts is that, like, the best Tailwind setters jumped in power level from Murkrow and Talonflame to Tornadus overnight.
Yeah.
And Tornadus has wind moves. There was a lot of Heat Wave with Chi-Yu. There was Icy Wind will always be relevant. And basically, people realized, hey, Bramblegast is kind of good because it handles a lot of
so many moves it's immune to.
It's immune to these moves. Yeah, there's so many moves it's immune to. As Abby said, this format lends itself to hyper offense very well. So a lot of times you want to be setting Tailwind anyway. And furthermore, its defensive typing was like actually really good as well as its offensive typing. Like as we said, Fluttermane and Urshifu were like the top 2 mons in the format by far. And
Tornadus was up there too.
Tornadus was up there too, right? Brambleghast,
like solidifying hyper offense.
It walls Tornadus. It resists all of Urshifu's stabs, and your Fluttermane better be your Fluttermane better be booster energy, or else you're getting hit by a Poltergeist. And if you're not, you're still getting hit by a +1 Power Whip and instantly exploding, right? In Tailwind. And so the problem is it's still Brambleghast, right? It has some flaws.
What are Brambleghast stats again?
No, don't ruin this for yourself. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Bulbapedia. Stats. Yeah, that's kind of not great. Oh my gosh, that HP is bad. There's a reason it's Focus Sash. 115's decent attack and decent speed with 90. But like, nothing compared to Urshifu or Fluttermane.
For sure. And
it did kind of end up falling off at the end there once people kind of started realizing, once teams got even more like centralized and focused.
Yeah, but it was really popular for the first few majors of the format, and the storyline there was that Emilio Forbes brought it to Worlds, and like he was absolutely dominant. Like he went like it was either undefeated on day 1 or day 2, I think, and very close on the other. Absolutely made cut with it, and when he appeared on stream, it appeared just so dominant. And it was like, I remember like, you know, Abby and I were watching Worlds together. I was like, that was fun. We're like, he's going to win Worlds with Brambleghast, so he's going to come real close.
The disconnect.
There was
the controversy.
The controversy. There was an entire
Let's talk about the drama.
An entire table disconnected at the World Championships. And to the best of my understanding, this brought Emilio Forbes from what was a pretty dominant position in cut to a sudden death for game 3 that his team was not equipped for, or at least that's, to the best of my understanding, how Emilio saw it. He pulled back from VGC pretty significantly after that.
Yeah, and a bit of mismanagement at that Worlds as well, of just like, I remember hack checks.
Yeah,
where people got disqualified from hack checks.
They did like actually good hack checks at the time and eliminated a lot of people from Worlds on that grounds.
But can we really hold that against the regulation?
No, we can't hold that against the regulation. There was, I remember like the suddenness of the increase in hack checks caught a lot of people off guard, especially people who had.
I don't know, but it was just a frustrating time in VGC. So it was just a weird format. A lot of just like around it.
However,
let's talk about.
Well, we gotta at least mention the finalist teams at Worlds, which were very cool. We had Michael Kelsch with a breakout performance. Like, if you're anyone who's been around Smogon, Michael Kelsch being good at Pokemon is not a new concept, but he was a relatively newer name to VGC, and he got second at his first Worlds. With a variation of the Dragapult Shen Pao stuff. A very offensive team with a balance mode.
Yeah, it is actually also, I would say, one of the more interesting. And also, we see Farigiraf, Farigiraf wasn't really used in early ones. But it's kind of interesting. I think he realized before everyone else the power of this Mon.
And one big thing with Farigiraf that he sort of pioneered is, I wouldn't say this is necessarily true nowadays, but people looked at his team and thought, oh, he had like really fast, immediate damage attackers and a Farigiraf to stop priority from shutting them down. And I want to do that too. And that idea was pervasive through our Regulation D and E especially.
Yeah, and it's even more than that. Let's be real. Like, Farigiraf, kind of like, even looking at this, there's not really any other Farigiraf in the like top slots of Worlds, but then after this I feel like we saw a boom of it.
I see one other Farigiraf in cut at Worlds, but I think only just one. Yeah. And then it's also worth mentioning the world champion Zine, or Shohei Kimura. He won a a team that I know have been popularized in Japan, a balanced team using Landorus Therian alongside Urshifu, Amoonguss, Iron Hands, Qian Pao, and Fluttermane. So basically the 6 best balance pieces in the format, at least on initial examination. And and people, one thing that people realize both while prepping for Worlds and after it is, wait, Landorus Therian's back, baby. It was Incineroar killed it, and we don't have Incineroar right now. This is the best Intimidator in the format, and
it really was the only Intimidator in the format. There was some Arcanine Hisui,
but yeah, Lando was
actually,
the top.
Also, one thing I want to mention, I do remember their Articuno started popping up here. I remember there's one Articuno team. I don't know, did it make day 2?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I guess that just kind of goes to show.
It didn't make cut, I mean. I don't know if it made day 2, but it existed.
But it kind of shows that, this format kind of punished a bit more of, defensive play.
Yeah, you were running, the best mons in the format, balance, or you were running aggro, and it was a little tough to do anything else.
Did it day 2?
I mean, you could get creative within those archetypes.
No. Oh, wait, it counts the scores differently, but yeah. Because it went 2-5. I was like, oh, that's not day 2. But no, it is. It is. That's just their record on day 2. But they had to use Abomasnow back then, which is another one of the big problems.
Yeah, we didn't have Alolan Ninetales yet. Yeah.
But yeah, it did day 2, but also couldn't keep up afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Just because this team looks a lot slower. How many of the...
One thing that's worth noting, though, is that, especially early format, as we went into the 2025 season... the 2024 season, thanks, Abby, is that balance actually sort of seemed to be... balance text to withstand the onslaught of offense seemed to be on top. That did really well at Pittsburgh. I think a Terra Electric Castellio won Pittsburgh, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it ended up freezing Wolf.
Yep, it froze Wolf. That was
in
quite
the
finals. And then we had a lot of just Iron Hands.
It did kind of shift to more balancey stuff, especially by the end.
Yeah.
I think it did kind of end up getting better by the end. I think Pittsburgh was much better of a meta than Worlds was. Because here we see a bit more variety. It's still not perfect. It's still a lot of hyper offense.
Yeah. One other thing about Reg D is sort of like Reg A. There weren't a ton of majors. There were a lot of locals, but there was
only
there was
2.
Worlds and 3 majors, and that was it. So
I forgot there was some in Europe and Latin America.
Yes. But only 1 in each, and at both of those, balance was it's either Tornadus Tailwind or balance that did really, really well in the top slots of both, more or less. So yeah, that was sort of the trend there. So less flexible of a format, but still not terrible in terms of the way that the teams hashed out, but the release was just horrendous, and honestly I do think we can hold that against.
We also have Ursaluna.
Oh yeah,
Ursaluna Trick Room stuff. That was the Trick Room mon, and it was kind of frustrating, I remember. Because there wasn't too much good counterplay to it.
Overall for the format, I don't think I can rank it. I think that B is the absolute highest I could rank it, and
it has to be C at best.
C at best, yeah. Yeah.
I'll put it in C.
Let's put it in C, and if we really feel like something goes above it but below B tier, we can make an adjustment.
All right. So, Peoria Regionals existed. I didn't know Peoria was a city that existed before BGC, and I kind of forgot until we went back to look at all these stuff. So anyway, this is how I intro Regulation E. And, I think it was a better format. There wasn't, too much meta changes. It was kind of like C in that way, where it wasn't, a ton of new Pokemon that were relevant.
There were a few that were really relevant.
A few that were really relevant. Mostly the Ogrepons and Blood Moon.
And Blood Moon.
What else? Actually,
one thing that also
I'm looking up who was introduced in the teal mask.
well, then I'll talk about the Hisuian Arcanine in the room. Hisuian Arcanine. It was released in Regulation D, but Regulation E, it had kind of a heyday. It won the first regional, that's Peoria. It won the second regional, that's Sacramento. It won the third regional. It won the fourth regional. It won the international after that. It did not, so it won 5 majors in a row. It did not win Brisbane in Australia. Then it won the next one, Stuttgart in Germany. It didn't win the next one after that, but it was which was San Antonio. So, let's count here. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 majors in Regulation E, and Hisuian Arcanine won 6 of them.
Really impressive.
Yeah, really impressive. And this was a mon that was available in this was a mon that was available in Regulation D, right?
Yeah, it was available in D.
But it just really came into its own in Regulation E, more because people just realized it's actually good, as far as I can remember.
It's kind of the I do really think the more I talk about it, the more I realize there's kind of some parallels to this being the same thing that C was to Regulation B. Like, this was kind of D+.
Yes.
Like, not too many changes allowed people to have some sort of familiarity, but have room to develop. And so I did actually end up looking it up. There wasn't really any other Pokemon introduced that had too much meta impact. I guess Weezing having neutralizing gas as an option did actually impact things.
And not just an option. At the time, there was a bug where photosynthesis was unaffected by neutralizing gas. And that meant that you could do things like run Roaring Moon plus Weezing, Booster Energy Activate, shut down all opposing abilities. That was like a good and real strategy that people actually used.
Loyal 3 was also introduced, but really Okidoki was the only one that had any sort of usage at all, and it wasn't even that meta. It wasn't even meta. It was a niche pick that sometimes got used.
Yeah. I remember Regidrago also started to pick up during this time.
Regidrago started to pick up a little bit in detail.
Yeah.
I faced Regidrago at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so let's talk about Ogerpon, because that's really the definer of this format. And actually, it's a very strong Pokemon, but I think it was actually really healthy for this metagame, because it really helped, like, Wellspring helped into, like, the Urshifu stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hearthflame was just another good offensive option.
Mm-hmm.
That also was, like, a fire type that doesn't get run over by Urshifu.
Yeah. I'm remembering a little more now about how sort of the meta developed. So Ogerpon was insanely good, right? And for a variety of reasons, grass types were... Every team had a grass type, and a lot of them were named Ogerpon. That was definitely a meta trend that went on. And for that reason and others, we shifted from like Balance being dominant in Reg D to Tornadus Tailwind becoming really, really popular. And those Tornadus Tailwind teams often featured Hisuian Arcanine plus Urshifu. That was like the main trio. Hisuian Arcanine, Urshifu, and Tornadus. That was the core. And then you could fit whichever grass type fit your fancy. You could fit on Avi Rillaboom for a better Fluttermane matchup. You could fit on Ogerpon and do Ogerpon things.
You could do both.
You really could
also,
do both.
I do want to point out one thing. We're talking about new Pokemon they added. There's also another big thing that had meta impact that wasn't a Pokemon added. Grassy Glide, baby!
Oh, yeah.
Rillaboom didn't have Grassy Glide.
There were a ton of new TMs that were added.
Grassy Glide, I think, was the biggest impact.
Knockoff.
Now, Knockoff, too. A lot more Pokemon got Knockoff. But Grassy Glide especially because of, like, again, Urshifu. Everything comes back to Urshifu. But it's good into Urshifu and also Flutter.
Yeah, for sure.
And now you could build these teams where you've got Ogerpon and Rillaboom both spamming Grassy Glide.
Glide spam, yep.
We've also got, like, in Ogerpon fit a lot of hats while not being, like, too overwhelming with it.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes... Because it's got the Swords Dance set, Grassy Glide set, and it's got also a new Follow Me Mon that really kind of helped even out a lot of things, I think.
For sure, yeah. If we look at the international from this format, and yeah, the reason for international is just, people tend to prep a little harder for them, keep their secrets saved up for that.
All right, then. Keep your secrets.
We had 4 Tornaduses in the top 8, including 3 in the top 4. Marco Silva won with Tornadus, Urshifu, Harkonine, but unlike actually the majority of other teams like that, he opted for Amoonguss as his grass type, and then for just that super solid Amoonguss Iron Hands duo, and then he also had a Goldango. I thought that was a really cool team, and my computer just died.
Oh no, hopefully that doesn't corrupt the recording on it.
Yeah, well, if not, that's okay. I just might be looking at your screen a little.
All right. Anyways, to illustrate some of there was some more interesting team building. I just wanted to pull this one up because
oh yeah. I'm not sure if that's representative of the format, but...
It's not representative of the format, but it does. I feel like you could get away with stuff like this more in Regulation E than you could in D. We've got our friend Everett here, just this interesting, Trick Room with Screamtail.
He'd set Trick Room Howl and then just sweep in Trick Room, and...
Not meta at all. I just wanted to point it out because it's funny.
Yeah, it was, that was...
But even then,
fun.
It just shows that there can be a lot more variety. I guess Sinistra. Sinistra was also, one of the new Mons added. But it wasn't that popular at the time.
I also remember that one big thing that was sort of made some waves was the Sacramento Regionals was won by Michael Zhang.
Yeah, this was out of nowhere.
Yeah. He's an excellent Doyu player, and...
Terra Psychic on Tyranitar.
Yeah, his team was a little unconventional. He had Terra Psychic, Terra Blast on Tyranitar, as well as an Iron Defense Leftovers Komoa with Bulletproof and Terra Steel. And some of the theory there was Terra Steel Bulletproof Komoa actually walls Fluttermane because it resists Fairy while being completely immune to Shadow Ball. And as a result, that Fluttermane was most people's special attacker at the time, and just being a steel type in general was pretty good into the rest of them, and this thing after an Iron Defense became very, very tough to
play. Very interesting. We've got just a lot of variety. Oh yeah,
Snow,
Alolan Ninetales was also added. Okay, there are more Pokemon. It wasn't that popular, but it was still a thing. Oh yeah, and we've got Scale Shot started here.
The Scale Shot TM being added here was a huge...
Didn't have as much of an impact on this one as it did H, but it was still used.
Yeah. I remember,
we've got Thundurus.
Pretty neat.
No, wait, that's Tornadus. I thought that was Thundurus. Never mind, my eyes don't work.
And, did Hatterene get Psy Spam now?
I don't think yet.
Yeah, okay,
I don't know.
Was the next DLC.
Yeah, that was next DLC, because here we still got Armor Rouge.
Yeah, and Surreal Brian Collins at Sacramento ran a Gallade that he nicknamed Serial Edge.
In quotes.
And he actually got, dinged by the TOs for that. He could not use his Gallade for the rest of the tournament. He still finished, top 8, I think, or top 4, one of the two. And a little bit later, the new rules were put in place for to more explicitly define the penalties for certain nickname for nickname mishaps.
Also, I do remember that here we were talking about wheezing earlier and the bug. So here we got I think this was pre-bug, or was it? Was Sacramento pre-bug or
Sacramento was pre-bug?
Okay. Yeah, because we've got that wheezing here, and also...
Or pre-bug fix.
Yeah, pre-bug fix. And we've got Dondozo Tatsugiri. That was kind of Dondozo Tatsugiri's... One of its main roles in that format was on these wheezing teams, because the abilities really only matter once you're combined anyway.
Yeah. And that's something that, continued all the way through Worlds of this format, even in formats as strong as Reg G. Yeah, something else to note is that Weezing was something that Dondozos really hate to see is the Dondozo mirror most of the time, and Weezing is just incredibly good to the Dondozo mirror to the point where I remember one team building group brought Weezing Dondozo with Ability Shield Tatsugiri to
just
Sacramento.
A lot of interesting building decisions. This was a good format.
This was a good format, yeah.
Not the greatest, but...
Yeah, I remember I was running Riley Factura's team during this format, which was a lot of fun. It was like Chen Pao, Urshifu, King Gambit, and just a lot of physical offense with the Chen Pao. All right, Reg F.
Even here, we got a lot of different teams. Well, wait, we gotta... Okay.
Oh, yeah, we gotta
rank it, but also just so... This was a good format. I'd either put it in high B or low A.
I'll let you decide. I'd be content with
No, you decide. I was saying either because I couldn't decide. Maybe we revisit this once we compare it to some of the other ones.
Let's just stick it in high B for now, and we can adjust later.
Regulation F. Incineroar's back, and I hate the game now.
Incineroar's back, and I love the game now.
This is where everything started to go wrong.
Reg F was a very wide format, and the main arc throughout the first Reg F was, people realized, first of all, everyone said Incineroar was washed.
Raging Bolt was introduced.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Everyone said Incineroar was washed, and then, the first major Portland, Abby got COVID, I think, and couldn't go.
Yeah, I got COVID and couldn't go. I was upset.
Yeah.
We've got, this is a lot of variety, and I don't mean that in the good way.
Well, but the thing is, like, with Incineroar, I'm just gonna finish that thought out, which was,
oh, yeah.
It started off people saying it's mid, and then, like, 2 majors later, it was on every team again. Everyone, okay, Incineroar is great.
It just took some time for people to figure out how to use it in this game.
Harkonine died in a ditch.
We've got more Psy Spam users. Oh, we've got Terra Stellar now, too.
Yeah. We have Expanding Force Hatterene now, which proved
Psy Spam options opened up. We also had Crown. I don't think that picked up until later.
Yeah, that didn't pick up until later, but
but we've got Bolt now, and Bolt's a bitch.
That Bolt's the other main storyline here. Bolt started off with it's obviously good mon. It won the first major on just an attacking set, but then during some of the GCs, which were used for Worlds qualification in Japan, some Japanese players came up with what became known as Japanese balance with Calm Mind, Raging Bolt, and that became the best team in the format. Not
the only team.
No, not the only team, and it never actually won a major in the West, I believe. Mostly because it had such a target on spec, but it came close. It came really close.
But it was very hard to counter while also having your matchups in the top. I'm just looking at this first tournament here, and I'm kind of overwhelmed. There's so much going on here. We've got Bolt stuff. Oh yeah, I remember also there was a lot of priority spam with Entei, and Qian Pao, and Dragonite.
And Bolt!
We've got Dondozo here in second. We've got Reggie Drago Hyper offense. We've got more Bolt balance stuff. We got Psy Spam. We've got King Gambit. Gouging Fire stuff started popping up later on. We've got Landorus Eye now popping up. We've got Incineroar now. We've got Blood Moon. Blood Moon was in the last format, but it really didn't start taking off as much until this format. And it just was frustrating because, you could counter Blood Moon Trick Room, but then could you counter... It was hard to counter both, Blood Moon Trick Room and Indeedee Trick Room and Raging Bolt. It kind of felt overwhelming. And Iron Crown Psy Spam, because now you can't just counter Trick Room Psy Spam. You've got 2 different speeds of Psy Spam.
Yeah, this wasn't a format where you could find anything and make it viable wide, like Reg H sort of ended up being, but this was you could very well face 8 different teams on a day one of any given, or 9 different teams, because that's what it was at the time, on day one of any given regional,
Because I remember,
the Porygon 2 team existed. That was cool.
Oh yeah, P2. That was a frustrating team, I remember. Yeah, let's see. I want to bring up your team as well, because you started off trying this, I remember, didn't you switch last moment?
Yeah, I swapped at 3 a.m. before the first Portland team.
This
and
was
ended
a
up placing as the
team
highest
initially,
6th,
right?
Yeah. This was Pengi's team. It was good. It was fun.
It was good, but it kind of, there's a reason it didn't stick around, is because like it was good, but you didn't end up making day 2 with it.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, I the team I was prepping with before that had like an auto loss to Entei that if there was probably a way to fix it, but I wasn't good enough of a player to figure it out.
I remember a lot of last minute switching. I know you've done that. I did that for some of my Reg F tournaments.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I only went to the one.
Yeah,
I only went to
but
Charlotte. But I swapped last moment because it was just, I was like, oh, I can't cover Urshifu Dark, and then I didn't face any Urshifu Dark.
Yeah. I remember that it was Entei picked up a lot on ladder before Portland, and it did end up winning the whole thing.
And then we've got Charlotte. I guess this is kind of where things started getting a little more like standardized with the Wolf stuff. This is, I know you've said you really like this team.
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest teams. You don't see it very often nowadays because it loses to Raging Bolt pretty hard. If you'll notice, the only mon on this team that can like hit Raging Bolt for super effective damage is Fluttermane, and the opposing Ogerpons handle that very well.
And also kind of see the rise of grass types here. This was a very grass heavy format.
Yeah, Reg F was like, the question wasn't do you have a grass type, it's do you have one or two.
And look, here we got Blood Moon, now we got Gouging Fire rising up.
Yeah.
Another like thing that plays completely differently than everything else that you gotta cover, but it's, the problem is as the Pokemon raise in power, and now there's also a ton of different viable Pokemon that are powerful, you can't cover them all.
Yeah, Incineroar was nice because it helped. It's sort of its thing is covering them all, but it can only do so much, yeah. It was... And... Okay, yeah, would you go back to the list of majors for Reg F? Let's see. Is there any of these that... Yeah, we gotta talk about EUIC.
EUIC.
Right there. And yeah, this one was...
Oh yeah, completely different than everything else we've been looking at.
Exactly. Yeah, P2 Ursaluna balance with a substitute booster special attack Fluttermane, 1. And that's like something that like people knew existed, but was it meta? Absolutely not. It certainly became meta in the second Reg F, but first Reg F, this was a dark horse, and it won the whole thing. And I think in the finals it faced... How many Bolt balances were there in the, like, Japanese Bolt balances were there in the top 8?
Well, it faced one in the finals.
Yeah.
Let me check the top 8. 1, 2...
There's a third one there, too.
Third.
Yeah. No, there's a fourth. Fourth and fifth are both Bolt balanced.
Oh, fourth and fifth are.
No.
Oh, yeah, they are. They are. Yeah, okay, you're right. A lot of Bolt balance.
Well, but Lucas isn't Calm Mind. I ran that team for a while.
It's still pretty Bolt balanced.
It's
not the same Bolt.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. A completely different Bolt balance. You can't cover... It's like...
Mm-hmm. Bolt was kind of... Bolt is busted, right? Like, it's a restricted Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, it literally has the stat line of base Kyurem.
It's got the bulk. It's got the priority.
Yeah, and you can run it in a lot of different ways. And one thing we gotta talk about with Reg F for sure is the second Reg F, because
there is actually one thing I want to talk about first.
Okay.
Because I remember, I guess this is more of a personal anecdote, but Junshi team. Because I hated that team playing against it. I remember I was building this super cool Gouging Fire Ogerpon team, and I threw it out because I kept losing to Junshi with it, and I just had no options into it. Because I'm like, well, I could switch out Pokemon, but then I lose other matchups.
Yeah, that might be a gripe of a specific matchup than with the format.
Yeah, maybe this is more personal, but it kind of is emblematic overall of that.
I think in Knoxville is where he did really well with it, but I could be wrong about that.
Let me see. Yeah, there we
go. We got a top 16 there, and then I actually...
This fucking team.
I used that team, and I top 16 to major this format, which was pretty cool. So I quite like that team, personally. But,
I do respect it. That. But again, it's just one of those teams that are like, yeah, you can cover for this, but then how are you going to cover for that, and that, and that?
Though something interesting is that team fell off pretty hard when the second Reg F came up because that team ran into the same problem. The meta shifted a bit, and then that team
nothing's consistent.
Yeah, it was still viable, but people shifted to the Ursaluna mode for a reason.
Even Bolt Balance fell off in 2.
Even Bolt Balance fell off in 2, and it ended with this up and down side spam. Would you bring up the 2026 second Reg F?
Actually, second Reg F.
Because we do need to discuss that. 2026 season. And actually, maybe we just look at EUIC there. I think that's the best representation of the format. But, yeah, Iron Crown was 2 of the top 4.
I guess Bolt Balance did win.
Bolt Balance finally
So I guess
won.
I was wrong.
No, it was the first Reg F where that was a true statement. Because
I don't remember fighting too many calm mine. Personally, I don't remember fighting too many calm mine.
Yeah, the second Reg F was definitely more hyper offensive. We've seen a lot more Iron Crown. We've seen a lot more Regidrago. Regidrago really came into its own.
I feel like Dondozo popped up again more here than it did in the first Reg F.
Yeah, it was honestly just an evolving meta, and the thing is, the meta never really stabilized and never really stabilizes because the format's so wide. There'll always be something that's good into whatever's currently good right now, and then there'll always be something that's good into what's left after that.
It feels like you're always playing catch up.
Yeah, which is fun for the first few cycles, but I'll admit it got a little tiring.
It gets fun at the start. I think at the start of the format, part of the fun of the start of the format, Reg A was a lot of fun because you got all this new toys to play around with, and nothing's super optimized.
Mm-hmm.
But here it just kind of felt everything's super optimized, but everything can't finish off, or everything can't beat everything.
Yeah.
I'm saying words. These are words that exist. Which one was it Yukadura that Articuno won? Because I want to point out the Articuno team.
This is 2024?
Yeah, Articuno team.
Yes.
Because I do think this is actually one of the more interesting, taking advantage of, I guess this is kind of also emblematic of, this team is not that good, all things considered. It fell off. Well, it's good. It's a good team. I should rephrase.
It was a meta call rather than something based on fundamentals.
Yeah, and that it rewarded meta calls over fundamentals.
Yeah, and so the theory behind the Articuno team is the best Raging Bolt's everywhere. Landorus is everywhere because it's the best check to Raging Bolt, and every team has 1 to 2 grass types. All of those are weak to ice. Let's click Blizzard. And a regional is won that way. This was based on a Doyu team, I know.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. On one hand, I want to be, that's a creative team, but also at the same time, it's just just another thing you have to consider. But then it just
honestly
another team that's here and then disappears, and then it's just
And
then Archaudon Rain. I know there's a few Archaudon Rain teams. It wasn't as popular in this format, but that was another thing.
There's a lot to
I remember
cover for.
didn't
But
Wolf
I gotta
add
say,
Hotline specifically for Archaudon.
Yeah, I do want to say I disagree with you a bit on the snow. Yes, you're right. Where it's just it's a new flavor of the week. And it's the downside I very much understand. I imagine it's incredibly frustrating to plan your team and then show up and realize, I have no Articuno matchup and just get 100 0'd, which I know is pretty much what happened to some people. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, I do think it's really cool that with a constantly shifting format, this is a format for the builders, for people who like trying to crack a meta, though I think that it became a little more obnoxious the longer it went on, and considering we had it twice,
the problem is
it
could never really be cracked in the sense.
Yeah, it's always cracking the flavor of the week, and you might be wrong, but also that's part of the game we play. Shall we go to the ranking the tier list?
All right. I'm putting in D, unless you have any.
I say low C.
Low C.
The room for things like creativity with Articuno, while it has its negatives, this wasn't a D tier format.
I don't know if there is any D tier format then.
I think if either of us were making an individual tier list, there would be, but together I don't think there would be. Because I know that these remaining few formats are somewhat polarizing.
Reg G.
The first word I would like to say on this is Arubega.
The first word I like to say on this is Bastion.
All right.
Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. That was set Reg G2.
Yeah.
And I think Reg G2 was a lot better than 1.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay.
Yeah.
Let's not get ahead. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
It felt the same to me.
Yeah, we've already got... I remember...
let me tell a short story here. Reg G2, the first tournament was Indianapolis.
Or 1. Reg G1.
Yeah, Reg G1. The first tournament was Indianapolis, and now the first tournament of champions is going to be Indianapolis. So I guess Indianapolis is like the cultural center of VGC now. But that's like fashion starts in Paris and moves to New York. VGC starts in Indianapolis. And at the time, everyone said the horses are busted. They're going to win, right? It was the horses and Terapagos. Everyone hard prepped for CSR.
Looking at this here, what do you not see here, Josh?
CSR.
Yeah. And no one was expecting Miraidon. Everyone was like unsure how to use Miraidon.
Well, that's the story here, right? It was, I think the team building group was Aaron Trailer and Rajan Ball. And they realized that that having a Mon that sets electric terrain for a 30% boost, gets another 30% boost for using electric type moves, and has a choice specs on top of it, is a little broken. And there was like one moment during a stream match where it was Rajan Ball on stream, and he like volt switches and does like, and knocks out an Incineroar that was like at 80 to 100% with a pivot move.
Yeah, people...
And like, that was the moment. Regulation, like all the prep we done for Reg G before that moment, there's like before that moment on stream and there's after.
Yeah.
Completely different format after we saw.
Completely different format. But like, I think at the start people were scared to just lock in with choice specs Miraidon.
Yeah.
But I think actually interesting here is like Farigiraf. I find very interesting here. This is the start of Farigiraf's really good career in restricted formats.
People realize that...
But I think people at first weren't thinking that it would keep up as well.
Yeah.
And then, but this kind of ended up being the perfect combo because it gets really bulky with that electric seed. Meanwhile, Miraidon sets up the terrain. You can't be spored. It can't be faked out. And then you can just Volt Switch out. You've got Blood Moon for the Trick Room mode. You've got Whimsicott for the Go Fast mode.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I think it was a Helping Hand Volt Switch that just knocked, or no, it might have just been a Terra Volt. I get it myself, but yeah. This idea of like Miraidon, if you can get it into position, can knock the opponent out, move first, knock the opponent out with a pivot move, and then be safe because it just pivoted out. It's just such a fundamentally strong concept, and Electric Seed Farigiraf plus Whimsicott was just so good with them. And that ended up winning the World Championships.
Yeah, also, notably in this first tournament, not a lot of Zamazenta, because people were still a little unsure of how to use it, because now it's a completely different Mon than it was in Gen 8, now that it gets body press.
Yeah, I remember Abby and I were building with Zamazenta with our friend Ty. That was a ton of fun.
That was for LA Regionals, which is actually, I day 2'd because of that, because we were a little bit ahead of the curve of everyone else on Zamazenta. It picked up a bit more beforehand. Which one did it end up winning?
Michael Kelsch won Stockholm, I believe.
Yeah, but that was already after we were in like discussions of, Zamazenta, because I remember we had this huge list of all the restricteds. We were trying to figure out which restricted are we going to build with. We had these pros, we had these cons, and we realized that Zamazenta was underrated for the amount of people prepping for it.
Yeah.
And, like, it has a decent matchup spread into everything.
And, yeah, it had more value than it had attention. And that was really appealing to us. And it was also good into some of the stuff that was dominant at the time, like Terapagos. But, and I remember opening up the Stockholm results, seeing Zamazenta 1. But, and my heart just saying, like, okay, people are gonna prep for now. And we still ran LA, and like Abby day 2'd with it, which was awesome. But, at that after that Zamazenta really fell off, I stuck with it, and I probably shouldn't have. You want to tell the story of the bet?
Oh! So basically, Josh always locks in Zamazenta. And every time he goes to a tournament, he says he doesn't day 2. I mean, sometimes you do day 2, but whenever you didn't, even if you did day 2, you'd still be like, I'm never running Zamazenta again. And then at one point, I'm just like, Josh, I bet you $20 that you're gonna run Zamazenta, even though you're saying you're not. And Josh It took the bet, knowing full well it was entirely within this control. He ended up running Zamazenta.
I did top cut that tournament though, so
Yeah, it worked out.
that was quite the run. I started 1-2, and then I got a lot of confusions with Pelipper's Hurricane that ended up working like 110 base power fake outs. I digress.
But yeah, there was, and also Los Angeles here, Calyrex was kind of starting to get its footing again.
Yeah, I remember Montana Mott won that one, and then he had a really, really, really good run with CSR throughout. Obviously there, but then throughout throughout the first Reg I and the second Reg G as well. And he ended up top 4 in Worlds of Reg I, but...
Also, one more thing about our team is I think we were kind of some of the first ones to decide, Whimsicott and Zamazenta are good together. Because I don't think a lot of other people were using Whimsicott as well.
Yeah.
And that kind of ended up picking up in popularity more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think because of us. I think just people noticed that it was good.
Yeah.
Like independently.
The 4 of those 6 were actually on the team that I ended up bringing to Worlds that year. I had a Chen Pao over the Ogerpon, and I think a Raging Bolt over the Fluttermane. And honestly, considering my level of player at the time, I'm still not a top player, but like, I'm a little better now than I was. Considering where I was at the time, going 5-3 at Worlds was like... I was pretty happy with that. I felt like I was punching above my weight class. And getting the chance to have 2 win-ins at Worlds, even if I lost them both, was just a wonderful experience.
And let's see, okay. NAIC, Patrick Connors won with the Ice Rider and the Pelipper Wide Guard stuff I found interesting. I actually think there's a lot of interesting teams here.
Yeah, looking back on it, there's a lot more variety than I remember.
There's a lot more variety, and sometimes it can be matchup roulette-y sometimes.
Yeah.
But I feel like there were enough ways to cover for at least most of the things that it was like, I mean, every format there's going to be a little matchup.
Yeah, there was a little more matchup roulette.
A little more than usual, but I don't think it was as bad as everyone was expecting it to be.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as everyone was expecting it to be. And
especially, I feel, Reg G, too.
Yeah.
But first, let's touch on Worlds.
We gotta talk about Arubega Miraidon.
Because Arubega won, and...
Well, Arubega himself did not win, but his team did.
Now, Luca Terabelli won. But this was kind of just, I think, the culmination of everything going on in the original Reg G.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting team to see come together, because it's like, it so much feels like the same stuff as the beginning of the format, and at the same time so different as well. And it's beautiful, honestly.
Yeah, it was from that first major where we saw...
Terra Bug Iron Hands,
we saw Volt Switch knock out that Incineroar to, like... to winning Worlds, and like
there's so many similarities and so many differences. It's still a lot of the similar stuff, but with like new improvements. And I think I actually really like G. Talking about this more is making me realize I like G more than I thought.
Yeah, and I think if I went back and finally got over myself and dropped Zama, I'd like it a lot too. But near the end, Zama was not the call.
And we got, Zama was good.
It did top 4 Worlds, but also that's Michael Kelp.
Oh yeah, Iron Valiant. Because the thing is, like, sure, there was high power level. This was also a format where there could be a ton of niche picks. Iron Valiant, no one expected that to get second.
I remember I think it was James Beck was running James Beck was running James Beck. He was running Mineshaw CSR. That was pretty cool. I know it was popular in the beginning, but he stuck with the Mineshaw, and I thought that was great. I think he did pretty well at Vancouver with it.
Yeah, we got Dondozo here. We've got Weezing.
Okay, the Dondozo was not cool. It was a really creative team.
It was really creative.
AV Miraidon with Dondozo was something all right.
But yeah, a lot of different ways. I really like this. So let's talk about G2.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of affection for G2.
All right.
I mean...
I'm going to let you talk for like the next 4 minutes.
Big Bass busting out these body presses, bada. So anyways, Reg G2, that was the first time we actually repeated a format.
Yes.
I know a lot of people were a little upset about that initially.
I was happy to run Zamazenta again. my format Reg G2 didn't go very well.
Yeah, but anyways, it was fun. It was actually a lot of fun. I get, like, even now we're seeing, like, it was the same format, but it was a different format.
Yeah. There was a lot of room for innovation.
There's room for innovation, but it wasn't, like, too crazy.
The coolest thing that I thought came out of this format, personally, Abby's forthcoming anecdote notwithstanding, was the Tang team, where we saw a full mirror in the finals between Justin Tang and Shilong Tang. I think that was San Antonio. And we had it was a super bulky, like, bold 2v2 bold Hearthflame, a Landorus, a Roaring Moon for speed control and to handle CSR, which had picked up a lot by then, and a Covert Cloak Amoonguss, which helped with both CSR and Miraidon, I believe. And then also and there was also a what do you call it? A bulky Urshifu. And, like, those 5 were a really, really dominant core. Like, they got first and second at a regional. That's really, really, really hard to do. We've seen that before in VGC history. The max attack Lunala in Gen 7 comes to mind. and then they had Ice Rider as the final one. And that core was so dominant that at the future Vancouver regionals, Behzad Muntazir won his first regional by replacing the Ice Rider with a Lunala, which behaves similarly for obvious reasons. And then I think, I forget which slot, he replaced one of the other slots. It might have been the Ogerpon. I don't think it was the Ogerpon. The Ogerpon's kind of pivotal with that. But he replaced one of the other slots with Indeedee, so we'd have, like, a Scythe Spam mode. And he won with, like, a variation of the same team, but with a really cool twist. And I thought that was awesome, that essentially the same core, but with different restricteds, could do so well over 2 separate majors.
I forgot Miraidon did not do well at this one.
Yeah, Miraidon was the most prep for thing ever. Ooh, Shane Gaffney. I am Shane Gaffney. I'm a huge Shane Gaffney fan.
Me too. So anyways, where am I? Because let's talk about one of my favorite innovations, Bastiodon, baby! So this is a team developed by Brendan Moses, was, like, the head honcho of the Bastiodon Mafia.
Yeah.
We all kind of contributed a little bit to it, but, like, we're just, like, notice this one little niche that it could fill that, like, it never used before, just the perfect moment to slot it in. And the nice thing about, like, this only works in single restricted, because it's a Pokemon where it's like, you either, if it's this restricted, you bring it, and if it's not that restricted, you don't. There's really no room for, like, wiggle room. It's there for the horses, and Terapagos, and then sometimes Kyogre. Like, Kyogre's kind of the exception to the either you bring it or you don't.
Yeah, but yeah, I remember, its niche, to be clear, is that it's the only Mon that gets all of Iron Defense, Body Press, Wide Guard, and Foul Play.
Yeah. It just really
I think
destroys
to
the
even
horses.
be more specific, I think it's the only Mon that gets Wide Guard and Foul Play. The IDBP is just incidental.
I don't think I lost to a single horse team.
Yeah, I remember some Lando variants were tough, but you beat the one you faced.
But I beat the one I faced.
Yeah. Which is to be clear, was Bastiodon, like, are we here to argue that Bastiodon was the best Mon in the format? No, but it was good enough to have a niche.
It pulled its weight.
And it was really fun.
Anyways, I could yap about Bastiodon for hours. We have a video on that.
Yeah, go check that out if you want to see it, and if you've watched this long.
All right.
Hi, thank you.
And then, anyways, let's talk about, I guess, let's kind of not spend too much time here, because let's get forward to, like, the end of
Regulation G.
Of G2. Because I remember, I forget what it was, but I remember there was one development is that Koraidon actually started picking up, which it didn't at all in original Reg G1.
Well, bring up EUIC.
Oh, wait, was it UIC?
That wasn't where it picked up a little bit of steam, but Jamie Boyd was running.
I try to forget about a UIC personally that year. I did not do good.
Yeah, don't look up what Abby's team was.
Yeah, but
UIC.
It won. It won. Like, it was so different, but it's still like there was always innovation, but it never felt too much.
Yeah, Koraidon was sort of viewed as a joke. Basically, if you want something that sets the mentality that a lot of players had around Koraidon was, if you want something that sets like a quark drive photosynthesis effect, moves really fast, and OHKOs things, go with Miraidon, because Miraidon has a better defensive typing. Miraidon actually has stab of the type that its field
and
effect
stab
boosts.
volt switch is the big thing. Is Miraidon gets U-turn, but it's not stab. It's not going to have that same field.
Exactly. U-turn is not stab electric terrain Hadron engine boosted volt switch. It also was a huge Terra sink, and furthermore, it could be intimidated. So you had to hold a clear amulet, or just cope with being intimidated. And Wolf jumped on something I believe Jamie Boyd had been running since all the way back in Worlds 24, which is realizing, take collision course and replace it with close combat. That's plus 20 base power. And then throw a life orb on, and that's plus another, that's another 30% damage boost. Suddenly you can actually OHKO neutral targets in the way that Miraidon could with Electro Drift. And suddenly Koraidon was not just usable, but good. Yeah,
good. It won EUIC. I know Jamie Boyd was running it a little beforehand.
He was running it at Worlds the prior year.
He was running at Worlds the prior year, but I think he also ran it at... Was it Birmingham that he ran it at? I don't remember. No, it wasn't as popular though. I don't remember. But I remember he did well with it. I actually played that team a little bit. So
it was the one. Oh, I remember. He was like the finalist, I think, or very close. He was in top 8. I don't know, because I remember watching a stream match against
Stockholm.
Yeah, because Michael Kelsch won Stockholm, and it was versus Michael Kelsch.
Yeah, here we go.
And it actually, I remember it won another major near the end on an Iron Crown team.
Oh yeah,
I think that was Daniel.
And no one was expecting it. And that's kind of like one of the interesting stories that pops up in Regulation G.
So you realize, wait, this thing's actually good. And while being able to take OHKOs with the Life Orb Close Combat set was a huge difference, another thing to point out was that the Scarlet Paradox Mons are better than the Violet Paradox Mons in terms of the peaks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think anyone would argue that like Fluttermane isn't the best Paradox Mon, for example, right? And Raging Bolt's insane. And Koraidon being able to enable those while still being like restricted itself goes insanely hard. And then what we'll notice especially is Koraidon has another mini arc in Reg I where like you don't need it to you can have it be there more just to set the sun and hit a few things.
Yeah, but we can talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that when we get to Reg I.
So anyway, I think it's time to rank Reg G.
Yeah. Talking about it more, I want to rank it higher than I
think I want to put it in that.
Better than E? Yeah, better than E.
It's better than E.
Yeah, let's put it right there. I like that.
I'll put it right there.
Regulation H was a format that was marked by a few... It was a volatile format. It was a wide format, like Reg F, but also a little differently. Because in Reg F, it was you might face a different team every single time, but you couldn't just like choose any mon and make it viable. Reg H, it kind of felt like you could choose any mon and make it viable. We had
beauty in that and a horror in that.
It was really frustrating for some people, and I know really empowering for others. It was we had an executor in the top 8 of a regional. I remember, like executor, the Gen 1 executor.
Yeah.
And no shade on the person who ran that. Good for him on doing so well.
Was it Louisville?
It was not. It was Louisville, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Parker Simmons.
I remember I lost my winning into cut in the 6-mon mirror at that tournament.
That was a very interesting. Zora Kasui as well.
Yeah.
Like I love it. It's such a love-hate relationship with this format because it's so much good and then so much bad. It's got high highs and low lows, and this is going to be a hard one to rank for me at least.
Yeah.
Just because it's like Well, yeah, when it's good, but when it sucks, it sucks.
I want to point out some of the things that were around. First of all, there was our Chaladon. Our Chaladon, you could handle it, but especially in the beginning, it felt really, really oppressive because there's only two things that hit it super effectively, and both of those are types that are mostly physical attacking types.
Yeah, and then Mousehold just comes in and pop bombs it anyway.
Yeah, Mousehold sideways attacks. We had Mousehit going on. We had Sneasler. Sneasler was the face.
Let's talk about Sneasler.
Regaf, yeah.
Unfortunately. So Dire Claw is a bad move.
Dire Claw is a poorly designed move. And Sneasler was ubiquitous, not necessarily because it was broken, though it was really good, but because it was also one of the best. Like, having it meant you had an Archaladon matchup because it could just close combat it, and so we saw it everywhere. And we saw it in Psychic Terrain with Indeedee. We saw Wolf win with Polytoad Kingdra Perish Trap. Really, anything and everything was viable. And then during the second Reg F, it was a little more centralized, but only a little. I mean, the second Reg H.
It did get a little centralized, but not even in a fun way.
Yeah, we saw a lot of P2 Ursaluna. And then we also got to talk about Carter's team, which was...
The Goon Squad!
The Goon Squad. It was Hisuian, Typhlosion, Whimsicott, Blood Moon is for a giraffe was the gist of it. Last two pieces were mix and matchy. He ran it during the first Reg H and went 8-0 at Sacramento. Though, as he likes to say, we don't talk about Day 2 Sacramento.
All right, and then we got this team here. Which one was the team? No, that wasn't it.
Which team are you referring to?
The team that, one of the teams that got centralized with, the Sneasler, Ninetales. There it is.
Oh, yeah. Lele's balance.
Lele. This was a frustrating team, honestly.
Yeah, I ran that for a while, and during the end of the format, counters to that were thriving, and then... and then we had an IC near the very end of Reg H, an LAIC, which was won by Yuma Kinagawa using a variation of the Goon Squad. That was pretty cool. And during the end, a lot of Sun plus hard speed control became really, really popular because people realized there's just so much going on.
More Sun Trick Room stuff. I mean, that's always a constant in every format. We've got the close combat Incineroar. I think that was an interesting.
That was really cool, yeah. But it was.
I guess one thing I want to talk about, some of the positives of Reg H, because I know we kind of bash on it a little bit, and for good reason. Sneasler sucks, Archaladon sucks, and I don't mean that in the way that they're bad, I mean they're too good and they're annoying to play against. A lot of the good stuff was annoying to play against, but silver lining was you could make a lot viable.
And
I really enjoyed. I got Day 2 with what was it? It was
Weavile.
Sacramento. It was Weavile. I really liked this team because it was similar to some meta stuff, but had a bit of my own personal flavor to it. We've got we've got the Weavile. I kind of noticed Weavile was a good meta. It worked well for the team because I wanted to beat up my Archaladon, but the problem was Sneasler outsped Mousehold, so I'm like, why don't I put on Weavile? This helps with size spam. This helps with a lot of different stuff.
Mini Chien Pao.
Yeah. I kind of liked it. It was cool.
Yeah. There
was a lot of room for creativity.
Yes.
But also a lot of room for pain and frustration.
Yeah.
I also really liked running the Marco Silva team.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that team was dominant. He got he made the finals of 3 majors with the same team.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's one thing about Reg F. One thing I've really learned about VGC is you really can be consistent in every format. In any, maybe not every format, but any format, and it's really just a skill issue if you can't. And while there might be some survivorship bias here, looking at the consistency of Justin Tang and Reg H2 or Marco Silva across all the Reg H's proves that you really just got to figure out the format, and what worked the prior format might not work this format. Shall we rank this one and move on?
There's one more thing I want to mention.
Okay.
Because another reason I really like this, Vegas, baby. I want to talk about my Vegas team. This is just an excuse for me to talk about my teams. So I decided I just want to have some fun and run a Mono Dragon team. Well, it was Mono Dragon plus Terra Dragon and Incineroar. But it was a lot of fun because I got to get creative with it without feeling like I was so underwhelmingly powerful or like so underpowered.
Yeah, she went 4-4 with a gimmick team.
Which, yeah, with a gimmick team. And I think that was really cool. That I could do that. And that's
She showed up in full LeBron cosplay, by the way.
I'll throw a picture up of that.
Okay.
It was an excuse for me to wear a maid outfit, let's be real. But basically, I want to get to I bring this up because I want to get to the thesis of my Reg H. Reg H is a great format if you're just trying to have fun. It is a shit format if you're trying to really be serious competitively.
That being said, the consistency of a few players.
You can be consistent, but
it's more difficult. Baby,
it's more difficult and it's less fun.
It's doable. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's. I remember the very final event of it was won by Luca Cherabelli, and someone sent me one of his tweets. He immediately tweeted, I can't believe I had to play. His first thing after he won wasn't necessarily celebration that he posted. It was, I can't believe I had to play Reg H for a second time. I'm so glad to be done with it, or something like that. Like, I think that was a very prevailing thought for a lot of players.
I know a lot of the top players didn't like it.
Yeah, low B or high C?
This is a decision. What are you feeling? What's your heart feeling?
I'm feeling low C, high C. I mean, purely because we had to play it twice.
Yeah, purely because we had to play it twice.
Yep.
If it was just Reg H1, it'd be B tier. It'd probably be top of B tier for me.
Yeah.
If it was
the second one was so much worse.
The second one was
one.
so much worse.
And that brings us to Regulation I, the best format.
The worst format. I really dislike this format because, okay, this might be biased. I did horribly in Reg I. Mm-hmm. I just feel like I couldn't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But,
my thesis on Reg I don't think it's the best format. I said that mostly to get Abby's goat.
It is my least favorite format of all of them, I think.
The thing that stood out to me about Reg I is like, it's almost the antithesis of Reg H, where in Reg H, you can probably, if you choose a mon and want it to work, you can go 4-4 with a dragon gimmick team, right?
You cannot do that.
Yeah, not happening in Reg I. In Reg I, like, you need to be this tall to play. You need to be like, you need to have a team of a certain level of fidelity and know your matchups to a certain degree. It really is a format that it lacks a little bit of that whimsy.
And that's kind of like, there's some players like you're more focused on a lot more of just you get your fun from refining your play, refining your spreads, optimizing everything. For me, I like trying to see goofy little concepts.
Yeah.
Not to say I don't also like winning. I do like that. I do want to get better at the game. But sometimes I just need to remember I'm doing this to enjoy myself. And Reg I does not. I think Reg I is the opposite of Reg H again. It lends itself really well to like competitive and.
Did it die?
Did it die? It died, I think.
Yeah, the power just went out on that.
Well, so I guess we could just keep rolling with this recording.
Yeah, we're gonna keep rolling.
Okay,
with this.
So yeah, laptop died, so sorry for the shit quality, but we just need to finish this because we're close to finishing it.
But
Reg I is very much, the computer turning off definitely. Is this still rolling? I want to make sure this is still rolling. I'm doing this. I'm paranoid about everything now. It's still going. Okay.
Don't fall over.
I'm not gonna.
Our renter's insurance only covers so much.
Yeah, we're filming this in his new apartment.
Yeah, I got married and now
got married.
Have a
that
new
was
apartment.
One of the reasons why this channel has been inactive. Not the major one, but like we've both been busy in our lives.
Yeah. But the you have to be this tall to play in Reg I, was what we already discussed. And anything more you want to say?
Well, okay. Now I don't have the teams up.
Well, I have plenty. I've got some things to say. Yeah,
this is
creativity looked a little different. For example, like I felt like I brought a very creative team to Worlds. It was 6 Metamons, and the creativity was weird spreads, and the fact that I had Grass Knot on my Amoonguss to have Ursaluna.
There were definitely some interesting things you could do. For me, I guess one thing here is, weirdly enough, Speed Ties felt worse in I than it did in G. Because in G, like...
No, Abby's so right.
But the thing is, in G, you're only fighting your same restricted 1 out of like every maybe 20% of matches. It depends on which restricted you're using. In this one, like, you're a lot more likely to run into your same restricted over and over again.
Yeah, CSR faced CSR a lot, and the Speed Ties were really, really, really rough.
It led to a lot of... It's a very volatile format, especially one mistake turn 1 ends your game. I mean, I know a lot of times that is similar, but it's like, it's not even just if you make a mistake, it's if you make a slightly less optimal move, you're out already.
If your spread is slightly off, you just explode.
If you there is very little room. It's like you're walking on a tightrope and can't like even lean a little bit, like...
Yeah.
Because in other formats, like, sure, let's say I'm not making a mistake, but there's maybe a optimal move I missed, but I'm still in a decent position. Here it's...
If we have, like, a chart where it's, like, tournament success, like, average tournament success compared to how, like, optimized your team is on the x-axis and, like, average tournament success is on the y-axis, in Regulation I, it just falls off a cliff below a certain amount of team optimization. Is this a
skill issue? Partly, yeah. But also, it does lead to stuff like, 50-50 predictions of, if I get this prediction wrong, a lot of times you can't cover for both options as easily.
And it was also like...
It's hard to play the mid-ground.
If your team was, like, optimized a lot, but not, like, super-duper optimized, oftentimes what you'd get as a result is just a ton of, like, gameplay decision volatility, and that was a little tough.
But, like, yeah, I think a lot of the really... Because I'm coming at this more, like, I get competitive sometimes, but I also... My main reason to do this is I like having fun. I like having fun with this. And that's like, sure, I can admit I'm not the best. I feel like this one really punishes being, like, bad.
Yeah, and I want to...
It's a skill issue on my part, but, like...
Something I like to say is, like, if you only care about this game for being competitive, go, like, I don't know, become, like, go do the same thing in the stock market and at least be making money off of it. Everyone's here for some extent to be having fun.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Like,
some people find their fun in being, like, the best. More than others. Whereas I like taking a concept and driving it to its full potential. And that feels like you can do that, but, like...
You're really limited in how far you can go with more off-meta concepts or things that aren't, like, founded in something super, super robust. And a lot more the time in Reg I, when you start on it, if you start on, like, a novel concept and it doesn't pan out, you can't, like, say, this is still really good and I just need to tweak it a bit. It's like, nope,
throw it out.
Throw it out, build something new, because if this one didn't work,
so
it's never going to work.
I tried so many different teams. I just couldn't figure it out.
We did see some creativity, though. We saw, like, Eric Rios get, like, have, like, a really cool team that with, like,
there were some good stuff. It's not all bad. We're ranting about it. I don't think that, like, I hate this format. I don't think it's a bad format. I think a lot of it is just my personal... I started playing it at a time when I was kind of burnt out.
Yeah.
It was not a format to play when you're burnt out of VGC.
Yeah, that's fair. And as for me, I actually quite did recognize that. I recognize that I really did like the format, and from discussing it, I'm realizing that, like, my internally putting it above Reg G was honestly maybe more due to, like, my own personal bias due to I had a much more successful Reg I than I did G, and I moved to on the tier list because it did have its pros.
Okay, you want to know where I think it goes on the tier list?
Well, sure.
Smack dab in the middle.
Yeah.
Right in between. We don't have the tier list up right now, but, like, right in B tier, next, like, after E, but before, what was the other one we had in there? A, but before A.
After E, but before A, so you're even saying, like, above G?
No.
Below
G was in A tier.
Yeah, after
E, Reg A.
Yeah.
Or, like, it's higher than Reg A, but lower than Reg,
That's a much higher rating than I thought you'd give it. But
yeah, well, I'd personally give it a little lower, but I do appreciate some of your points here.
Yeah. Well, what was between G and where you're planning to put it?
E.
E.
I like D more than this one.
I think that this was I think this was a better format than E, and
I think it was.
It did have some nice things going for it that, like,
I think it was worse than A personally, but I'm willing to be in the middle here.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good to me. And yeah, like, while I have a much higher opinion of G from this discussion, thank you. I got something out of this.
Yeah.
It's like
this is why I wanted
thinking
to do
about
this.
it a little more. Yeah, like I had some really awesome things going for it and G did have a few issues too. Like
no format's perfect.
Okay, yeah, I'll agree with your placement. You know, it's a tier list. It's subjective.
At the end of the day, even in the worst formats, I'm still having some amount of fun.
Mm-hmm. So
I think my gripes with I were more from just burnout.
Mm-hmm. So
anyway, if you've made it this far, let us know what you think.
Yeah, this is our tier list. We're interested in what you think. Just know that if you disagree with us, you're wrong. And
yeah. Fuck you.
But it's all subjective.
We're looking forward to Champions and seeing what new meta. I'm really excited for a fresh, like completely fresh meta here.
Oh yeah, I'm so ready for Champions. I'm so ready to play without Terra. Like Terra's fun, but I'm so ready to play without it.
We could do a whole rant about Terra. I might make a Terra rant.
Yeah, if you want to yap some more, hit me up. We got.
I always want to yap. I've got so many ideas.
Well, but anyway.
So hopefully this channel should be not as inactive. I don't know. I'm just gonna kind of post when I have cool ideas and just have time, and because I just want to have fun.
Yeah, probably a little less editing, a little more yapping. If
sometimes there will be a few edited videos because like I do like editing, but I don't know. We're just kind of gonna do what's fun for us, and if you want to stick around, we appreciate it.
And this has been a blast. Have a good one.
Later.